How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. This is Slinging Dirt with Staley. I'm Alan Staley. On this week's episode, driver of the Cans 2 Racing Oil, Mason Sound, Innovative Design, Fierce Herbicide, Bradshaw Custom Pumping, number 9X Sprint Car. From Chapin, Illinois, Paul Nienhiser. Paul can routinely be seen holding trophies in victory lane celebrations at tracks across the country, competing with both the World of Outlaws and the 410 Sprint Car competitions, as well as with the ASCS 360s. Quite frankly, if it has a wing and there's a race within a day's drive, Nienhiser's probably going to roll in there and raise that level of competition. From sitting in the front row at the Tulsa Shootout at the age of 14 to notching 5 wins so far this race season, all while studying mechanical engineering at Missouri University of Science and Technology in Rolla, Missouri. With a ton of credit to his racing career, Paul is an amazing talent that I didn't know a whole lot about going into the show. It didn't take me long to understand I was sitting down with a true driver. Nienhiser was a blast to talk to with some great stories and a very clear goal on his racing program. He's motivated, determined, and gifted behind the wheel. Add that all up and you get one of the most talented drivers in the country. Paul and I reflect on anything ranging from the randomness of how his circle track career started in a parking lot to why so much thought goes in on deciding the race car number. Plus, a brand new Mount Rushmore of racing, what his race day mentality is like, and more on an all-new Slinging Dirt with Staley, special guest Paul Nienhiser, starting right now.
Growing up, I had a friend that was 2 years older than I was, and he was racing quarter midgets, and my dad and I were NASCAR fans or whatever, just like your typical race fan kind of. And anyway, he had a quarter midget. We were pretty good friends, and he decided, his dad and him, I liked it, and we went out to like the local junior high parking lot, and they would set up cones and practice, and I got to drive it one time. Anyway, a long story short, we decided to go out to Taylorville, Illinois on a Sunday, just a little quarter midget racetrack. It's actually a pretty neat place now, I think. We went and watched, and we were hooked. My mom went, and we won the 50-50 that day, and that went towards my first car, and the rest is history.
Wow. Why the number, the 9X? Is there any big significance there?
Well, I started out, I think I was at 88 for Dale Jarrett in quarter midgets.
Nice.
He was my guy. Yep. And then when I got into mini sprints, I was a big Tony Stewart fan. I had to run a letter, so I was like a 20P. And then I want to say I must have been 9 or 10. I got to go meet Casey Kane. It was like his rookie year, like 04, I think, in NASCAR. Wow. And I went and hung out with him at the Chili Bowl and got to go in his trailer. And obviously, as a kid, that was the coolest thing ever. It just makes your world, yeah. So then I was number 9. And then that kind of stuck for a while until we got to where I was running with the World of Outlaws, and I was taping an X on everything. Mm-hmm. And now kind of the 9X is just kind of stuck. Do
you have any race day rituals? Like you have to eat this, you have to drink this, you have to not wear green, not change your underwear, anything like that?
I would say probably a few years ago I was superstitious with my underwear.
Yeah.
And then sometimes my luck, you don't want to hang around me too long. It just doesn't seem like it'll go my way very often. And I finally got away from all the superstition and all those kind of things.
That's good. So you don't mind sporting green on the car or anything like that?
Don't think anything about it.
Eat chicken on race day?
Chicken, yep. I'd say maybe lately just because I seem like I'm tired all the time. I'll have an energy drink or something.
What's the favorite pre-race meal?
Well, it just kind of depends if we're on the road or not. Yeah. It's like yesterday was Hardee's. Yeah. So it just kind of depends.
And you roll into Casey's 2:30 in the morning. What's the go-to drink snack combination?
Ooh, I'd probably say going to have to go with a donut, some cream-filled donut, and maybe a milk or something like that.
Yeah, milk. Yeah. What about post-race drink?
I'm usually so tired and sweaty, I just want straight water.
Yep. Yeah. The way that I would describe your driving style is precision and poise. How do you get to that comfort level behind the wheel of a car?
I would just say, you do it long enough, which I've been doing it a few years. I'm not that old of a guy yet, but got quite a few laps and raced with some pretty good company the last few years and traveled a lot, and it just makes you a better driver the better cars you race with. Mm-hmm. And, you get out front, like I'm trying to think of the first big race I may have led with some good cars behind me, but kind of get a little bit of kick in the butt and realize you got to get up and go. And for like lap traffic or anything like that, you really just got to kind of make a decision and go for it. Mm-hmm. And then with time, you can kind of start to tell where cars are going to go, or you hope anyway. And like last night was pretty tricky, but when they work out in your favor, it feels pretty good.
When you're behind the wheel of the car and you do get into lap traffic like that, battling for the lead, there was one instance where you got pinned behind a lap car. The leader, Zach Dom in the 5D, was able to get back by you on the high side. You didn't let that one thing hinder your whole race. You were able to come back in the next corner and perform a brilliant slide job. Where's that mentality come from? Is it just the seat time, or did you drive angry for a lap?
No, you can't, I don't think you can drive too angry. Definitely, sometimes I would say if you get mad or maybe you have to go to the back, you'll see a guy pass like 15 cars, and you're just kind of driving harder than you would normally. Mm-hmm. But I think I'd say you're right with just kind of have to be second nature when you're in a race like that with close quarters and lap traffic. And like Zach did he really ran a really good race.
You guys put on a show.
Glad everybody enjoyed it. But yeah, just second nature. And like I said, you do it long enough, and I come to a racetrack and early in the night or watching other cars, I try to figure out where on the racetrack you're going to be able to pass somebody, because some tracks are shaped weird, where like a slide job, you would think, why doesn't he slide him in this corner? But there's places I could tell you 2 or 3 different racetracks where you're just not going to have the momentum or the way the track's banked.
Pull off a slide job.
It's going to kill your momentum, and 2 laps later, sometimes there's tracks I can only, I'll set my passes up for only one certain corner just because that's how it goes. So
now when you're out there driving, are you looking for places to pass, or if the moment is there, you just have to be able to jump on and take advantage of the opportunity?
I would say a little of both.
A little of both.
You have to be prepared for when it comes right to you, but at the same time, a lot of things in racing can't go to plan, because you know how many different things can happen in one single lap.
Yeah.
So.
What's going on in your mind while you're sitting in the staging area?
Well, first thing I usually do is I get in there and say a prayer, because we all know how dangerous it can be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just kind of, after that, I'll get in the zone, and I'll kind of close my eyes, think about my laps, especially like the first lap. They always say you can't win it on the first lap, and I'm a firm believer in that. And
but you can lose it on the first lap. You can
lose it in the first lap. So I try to make sure I know what my plan is. Like I said, it doesn't always go to plan. I try to have a plan, and then, once the race gets going, you kind of fall into your groove and hopefully start clicking off some pretty good laps. And if you're in the front, I hope I'm gone, and if I'm not, I hope I'm moving forward already.
Yep.
So.
On the parade lap, you're coming out there. Is there anything that you have to do? Are you left to right, warm up the tires? Are you hand out the car, just kind of feeling the air, waving to the fans? Are you looking up in the grandstands, or are you looking for your marks? Like, here's where I want to start my turn. Here's where I'm backing the gas.
Yeah, I would say the parade lap. I'm looking more at the initial start and thinking about moisture and places I can get a run just coming off of turn 4. Because, as much as people don't want to say it, sprint car racing and wings, and especially when you get strung out, can be very hard to make up a lot of ground.
Exactly.
But there's still a lot of passing, and I think it's the best form of racing out there. Off turn 4, I want to be in front of 2 cars before I go into turn 1, because that's just the easiest, and everyone's closest together. That's the best time to pass cars. But at the same time, you don't want to go lose the race going into turn 1, go yard sale it or anything like that.
Exactly.
But, I've been a kid at the racetrack too, so, I'm always waving or something like that. Just appreciate the fans, because without them, we're not here either.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. You hinted on it just a little bit ago, that fear, because what we do, sport, racing, dangerous. You're going at high speeds and everything. How do you deal with that internal fear? Because if you're doing it right, you're on that edge of out of control.
Right. I just kind of put my faith in the guy above, and it's definitely dangerous, but it's also something you can't think about, because you're not going to run it as hard as you need to, because there's going to be somebody else out there willing to run it harder if you're not going as hard as you absolutely can.
Very true, very true. And I kind of skirt around this topic, and it's for good reason, the money aspect of it. It's very, very expensive in this sport. As somebody who's gone through the ringer of coming up through the classes and everything, and now you have the great pleasure of having sponsors, what is your biggest advice for the young up-and-comers to try to get that sponsorship?
I would say every time on the track, make it count. And I'd also say never burn a single bridge.
Yeah.
Because you never know. There's guys out there. I think Brian Brown's a really good example. He drove the Casey's car. Yeah. And years later, now look, Casey's back with him, and things are great. Yeah. So that's a good example of that. And I would just say, be friendly to everybody out there, and just treat everybody the way you want to be treated. And I'm a firm believer that good things happen to good people. So,
average week during the race season, let's say the car's in good shape, you had a good night out the night before or the weekend before. How much time are you spending working on the car during the week?
I would say during the week we put in probably well over 30 man-hours just in our operation. I've got some really good help at home. Obviously, my dad and I are the only ones here this weekend.
I've seen that.
But, usually we have one other guy, Roger Stocky, goes about everywhere with me. Nice. And then I've got Ralph Wilhite and his son Drake's in the St. Louis area. He just had a baby, so that slowed him down a little bit. But Ralph takes care of my motors. And kind of my mentor when I got into sprint cars, his name's Bobby Hawks. He used to race here. I don't know how long you've been around here, but he's been a good help just with advice and kind of a path I should take and things like that, and also one of my sponsors.
Nice.
So
it's always good to have mentors that help out your racing program and stuff like that. What about during the off season? How much time are you spending working on the car then?
Like this off season was a lot more than in the past, just because of the last race of the year in Charlotte, we actually wrecked a car.
So you basically start all over.
Basically start fresh, but in all realness, we pretty much tear a car down. We have a couple cars in the shop right now, so we're going to tear it all the way down and start fresh every year. Nice. Maybe not all the parts are used up, but it's just good to take it all apart, start with as new of a car you can if it's not brand new. So that's what we like to do.
Where does this motivation come from? Because you have to look at it from an outsider's perspective. All the hours spent wrenching, the money aspect alone, the weekends spent away, it all adds up and takes a toll. Why keep doing it?
I'm gonna go on the path of saying that it's just it's one of those things that once you get it in your blood, it's just a passion, and it's just something you live for, basically. So I don't necessarily understand the families that go on the road every weekend to play traveling baseball or something like that. So I guess I understand when people don't see it how I see it, but then I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't see
I don't
their
understand
sport.
your lifestyle
So
either.
I appreciate everything, but it's definitely something I feel like racing as a whole is just a big family, and we all get it, but maybe the outsiders don't as much.
Right. When you get behind the wheel in a race, is there ever a moment of sincere clarity? Is that how you drive, where everything just kind of falls in, you don't think, you just react?
You know, I go out every time, and the mindset's I'm going to go win that race.
Yeah.
Whether it's a heat race, whether it's a feature, dash.
It's the competition. I mean, you're here to compete.
Yeah, we're here to win. That's what we do every week. So, yes, but I think it's kind of a calculated frenzy or something like that, because you
controlled chaos.
Yeah,
if you will.
that would be good, because you have to be going as hard as you can, and you can't have a plan because the guy in front of you could do something stupid that you didn't plan on him doing.
Exactly.
But I'm calculating, under yellows especially, or like as I'm making laps and maybe feeling that the top's slowing down, or seeing even lap cars keeping up better on the bottom, or
maybe
something
switch
like
up
that.
your line and stuff.
You've always got to be thinking, but you can't think at the same time, because there's not time to do that.
5 laps left in the race. Racing is close. Where do you want to be to put that car in victory lane? You want the lead, second, third, coming through the pack? How do you want to tackle this?
Well, I would say that depends on how my car's handling, how I feel like I'm driving, and I'm always kind of a fan of being in second place. Now, I don't want to be in second too late, because sometimes you can run out of time, but like last night, Zach was doing a really good job out front, but I had a little bit of time, and I found a little moisture off of 2 on the bottom. And I could see the lap cars were making some better laps down there, and that happened before I got around them at least twice.
Yeah.
So, I'd always rather be in the lead, but I also, fortunately, I shouldn't even be saying this right now, I've never lost a race at the end of the race.
Yeah, when you're in the lead.
So, actually, Brad Loyette, a few years ago, we had a race where he had slid, I had passed him in the middle of the race, and then he had slid me coming to the checkered flag, and there was barely any room between me and the wall. And I ran over his right front, and he went spinning across the finish line, and my rear end was broken and everything, and it was probably the closest finish at Spoon River Speedway that there's ever been. So that was the closest I've ever come to losing one.
Yeah.
But I think you'd always rather be in the lead, probably.
Yeah. Slide job or crossover, let's say you're in that second place spot. How do you want to take it to the checker?
If I'm in second place, usually I'm kind of a high roller. I like to run the top, and I'll probably rip the top as hard as I can.
Just try to get around them, and then
you don't want to do a slider too early, because
show your hand too early. Yeah,
either show your hand, or it doesn't stick, or maybe he's trying to be smoother or making his laps good at the end. So you show him a nose, he might get on the gas, and what you've just made up the last 5 or 10 laps, he all of a sudden you can't even reel him back in. Yeah. But if you run up on him too long and you're right up behind him, maybe you don't have the momentum. So just got to take it as it comes, really. And, whether it's going into turn 1 on the last lap or going into turn 3, you just got to be ready for it.
Nice. What's your dream car? What do you want to go get groceries in? Money isn't an option. What kind of wheels are you rolling around in?
Oh, man, I've come from a Chevrolet family.
We got to end this now. The podcast is over. No, go ahead, bud.
We had a Camaro ZL1.
Oh, nice.
Those are pretty hot. But I've always said when I get done with college and everything like that, I'm probably gonna look at a Corvette or something like that. I would say a supercar, but I'm into V8s, American Muscle.
There you go. Hollywood is calling. They're making a movie about your life. Who plays you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've never thought about that. I doubt they ever make a movie about me. But
you never know.
Shoot, I don't know. I would say I don't know if he'd be a good character for it, but I know he's done racing stuff in the past, maybe Tom Cruise or something like that.
Like a little Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
I like that. Anybody you want to give a shout out to for helping your racing career along the way?
Yeah, first and foremost, I guess thanks to Dean and Blake Richardson for the quarter midget little go around early
the start of the career.
And then Scott Sawyer was a really big help when I was running micros. We were running a local track in Pittsfield, Illinois. And they ended up closing up, and that forced me to either go play football and baseball or go travel with Power Eye. and I got my first couple Power Eye wins thanks to Scott. He gave me a lot of great advice, and then the ball started rolling from there. Tim Engler's been instrumental since then. He built his one of the first micro injections was a scaled down version of our sprint car.
Right.
I was like one of the first ones to put those on there.
Oh wow,
and we ended up winning a couple Power Eye races before. I was the youngest one to do it at that point.
Nice.
And from there, I actually ran his last sprint car that he ever raced. It was a J&J. Was my first sprint car. It was in his shed one time when we were over there, and I told him I was thinking about going and doing it. And so I ran that my first year, and he's still behind me 100% to this day.
That's awesome.
And then I've got a lot of local sponsors. The Wessler brothers out of Arnsville, Illinois. They've been with me, I think, since I was 9 years old.
Loyal sponsors right there.
Mike and Dave Mason. Mike passed away a few years ago, but Dave, his son's still with me. They do Mason Sound. And I think they've also been with me since I was 9 or 10. I'm trying to think. I don't want to miss anybody. But like I said, Bob Hawks earlier. Matt and Lori Bradshaw Custom Pumping have been with me the last few years. And, my biggest supporter probably that is pretty obvious, but Cam2 Racing Oil. Jack Baker and Corey Trahan and everybody behind that organization has been just huge for me as well.
What's the future plans? What's the ultimate goal?
I think everybody's goal will be to race for a living. Yeah. So whether it's on dirt or asphalt, who knows? I'd say I'm kind of running out of time to be the young guy coming through the ranks. I'm 21 now, so I'm not just a kid anymore. But I still like to think I'm young enough that I can still get a shot. Yeah. But what I really do enjoy is having just a great group of people with sponsors and people on my crew.
Having fun.
And just having fun. But I just really appreciate all of them being behind me and having my own team where, maybe I go out here tonight and make a fool of myself, but I'm not going to get fired on Monday.
Exactly. You're driving for yourself instead of driving for other people.
And all those people are just behind us 100%. And it's just a great atmosphere to be in. And we're out having fun doing it and having some pretty good success.
Awesome, buddy. And one final question. It's kind of the staple of the show here on Slinging Dirt with Staley. What is your Mount Rushmore of racing? It can be all NASCAR, all dirt, a blend of both, Formula One. You can throw anybody you want in there. Just your top 4 drivers in your mind. They don't have to be the best. Just your 4 favorite.
I would say just because I haven't been around it as long and I didn't come from a racing family. But I'm going to say probably the first guy I'm putting on there would be Donnie Schatz. Just what he's doing in this day and age is unreal.
Yeah. His stats alone speak for themselves.
With competition the way it is these days, it's unreal.
Ridiculous.
Aside from him, I would probably say Richard Petty. You can't take away from him. Probably AJ Foyt. And I'm trying to think who I'll put in there as my last one.
One more.
I don't know what we should go with here. Pavement, dirt. I'm going to make it a good one. This is tough. Only give me 4.
Gotta narrow it down.
Yeah, let's see. Probably my very last one. I'll go out on a limb here, and I would say, man, I think Doug Wolfgang's the nicest guy. Yeah. I would say Steve Kinzer, him, or Sammy, because they're kind of the big 3, but just from a personal standpoint, I think Doug Wolfgang would probably be my 4th guy. So.
I like it. Well, buddy, that's about all I got for you on the show today. I really appreciate you sitting down talking racing with me. Hopefully we can get you back on. Good luck tonight, Lake Ozark Speedway. You've already locked yourself in for the main event. Hopefully you can go 2 for 2 and pick up that additional $5,000 bonus tonight.
That would be nice.
I appreciate you being on the show, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.